All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of Pitchside. Thank you so much for always sharing the content, retweeting, and putting it out there. We keep telling you that we want to always engage people who are change makers in the world of football, and today is not any different. We are in Kigali, Rwanda's capital. I must say, Pitchside has the privilege and honor to get a very, very rare interview with one of the top officials in the Rwandan army and government, but also the man that makes the calls at APR Football Club. Now, we all know APR is the most successful club in Rwanda. 22 league titles, more than 10 domestic titles. They've also played on the continent, and the club has attracted quite a number of top players across the continent. So it's only fair for us to sit down and have a conversation with the person who makes the calls. Pitchside is privileged to be joined by the chairman of APR Football Club. Afande has allowed us to have an interview with him, and I'll first say hello to him before he officially says hello and greets all the Pitchside viewers. Afande, it's a pleasure.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yes. First things first, maybe an introduction of the position and APR and the position you're at APR for someone who may not know.
Yes, I'm called Brigadier General Deo Rusanganwa.
Yeah.
I'm the chairman of APR FC.
Okay. Brigadier General Afande, allow me to say Afande. I hope that's okay.
No problem.
Okay.
Yes,
nice to have you on the show. Welcome to Pitchside.
Thank you very much for having me.
Afande, I think I'll start with a very, very easy question, maybe easy or hard to you. You're the current chairman of this football club that has won countless trophies. Some here just in our background. Briefly tell me your relation with APR Football Club as a person and what it means to Rwanda as a country.
First of all, I'm honored to be a chairman of APR. But again, APR is a club that was, since from its inception, I was part of the APR as a Rwanda Patriotic Army, as a member. But later on, it came to be formed as we had that club which was formed in 1993 by our leadership. So from that time until now, it's going higher. Yeah. So I'm very privileged to be a chairman. I was appointed in November. That's when I was appointed as a new chairman until today.
Okay. Like we've mentioned, the football club has won so many titles domestically and in the league and all. Since 1993, when this club was formed, what do you think has kept the club floating since then and made it even a bigger institution in Rwanda?
Yes. Since from its inception, the leadership was on top. And to tell you, the leadership of this country is doing better, doing for the country. So among so many things that has been done by the leadership, football is among. So being there as of now as a strong team, all comes from the leadership.
You talk about the leadership of His Excellency President Paul Kagame and the immense contribution he has had towards sport on the African continent and East Africa and the world at large. Maybe Brigadier General, just probably break down briefly for us what was the driving factor for His Excellency to invest in sport but also in infrastructure, because you have an arena, you have all the other stadiums that are available. What was the driving force for these stadiums to be available?
The driving factor, as I said, the leadership. The background of this country, the history of this country, where it came from. After 1994 genocide, what the government has been doing, all the leadership, is to bring people together And one of the things that brings people together,
Sport.
the unity, is sport. So I think from there is where we see the APR. It brings people all over the country. You will see that people are happy, are united. So that is the factor that APR is there. Among other things that the leadership has done to this country, even football, sports is one of the things that brings people together. So for the infrastructure, of course, where there is sports, where there is no sports, where there is no infrastructure, sports cannot grow, as we see now in Rwanda. They are trying to build the infrastructure for the football, basketball, so many infrastructure. They want to, apart from bring people together, to unite people, but even sports is a business. So we cannot grow in business without infrastructure. So it's really the government is putting much money in infrastructure, so that football can become even football or sports at large can become a business to this continent.
Okay, which is a very good thing. I mean, we want to watch Formula One. We can't afford to go to Monaco or Dubai. So His Excellency, I saw him the other time talk about the possibility of Rwanda having a racing track, which is a very good thing, already enjoying the BK Arena and the Amahoro Stadium. But let's get back to the beautiful club that you lead as chairman, Brigadier General. For about some years, the club was relying on local-based players, only players from Rwanda, to actually play and perform for them. However, I think a season and a half ago, that decision was changed, and now you have other nationals playing for APR. Why the change in heart? Maybe explain to us, first of all, why it was like that and why you decided to switch.
Yeah, at the beginning, the APR used to have professionals from Uganda, Kenya, all over the countries, African countries. But later on, the leadership decided to use the nationals, the Rwandans. But I think it was on the basis that they wanted to give chance to Rwandans to play on international level, because at first we had so many professionals from outside, but now we used only Rwandese, and it had an impact on national team. If you can see now in Rwandan national team, you find 85%, 90% are from APR. But later, very recently, they decided to come back to use the professionals from different countries. I think what they wanted is to increase the performance of the club and to make business, because once you have professionals, it brings attention to so many sponsors and other clubs to come and do business with the IPL. So coming back to the professionals from outside, it has even made an impact. Right now we see IPL is growing because of that.
Okay. Yeah. As chairman of this club, what vision do you have for the club? Because when you bring in foreign nationals to play for the club, maybe the idea is to compete with the big boys on the continent, the Yangas, the Simbas, Al Ahly and all. What vision do you have for APR Football Club as chairman?
Yeah, our vision is the sustainability of the club on international, on continental level. So I think we want to be the top player on the continent. So the sustainability that can bring back the professionals can also can sustain our club. So that is our vision. And bringing different players from different areas can also, in terms of financially, we can be stable. So, and our vision is to continue going higher becoming one of the biggest club on the continent. So that is our vision, actually, to have a big club on the continent.
Okay, that's a very good ambition, and to do that, I think there are things that you feel have to change or improve on APR for them to compete. What are some of the things that you're working on in terms of infrastructure for APR to be a competing team or club on the continent, and what are the plans to set up things that you plan to set up?
Of course, our vision is to have a competitive club, but again, you can't have a club without infrastructure. I think if yesterday you went to see our complex there, it is still on low level. We want to have more pitches, more accommodations. So in our plan, since we are affiliated on the Ministry of Defense, they are working on to have enough budget, so to have all those infrastructure that can help our team to be strong on the continent. So many things that we need to build. So, but the leadership is working on budget. I hope next year we shall have the budget to start now constructing more pitches. We need to have our academy to be in the same place. So a lot of infrastructure has to be built.
It's only fair for us to talk about the other part of APR. I know you have a women's team, you have a youth structure. How does this operate? Talk about the women's team. How is it performing, and the youth structure, the young kids that you're trying to bring up? Do they have a training base? Where do they train from?
We have women football club which is competing on the Rwanda Premier League. APR has that ambition to build football from grassroots. So we have young ladies, young girls who are still in secondary schools. So we cater for them in terms of school fees. But again, we have our coaches who always meet those young ladies to teach them football. That's how they came to find themselves on the Rwanda Premier League. But we still have more to do so that the team can come together, so that it can be competitive on the African level. But we are still working on that. We have we can call it not academy, but it's training centers where we have from under 8, 13 up to under 17. But under 17, we have under 17 team that stay together. So they compete in second division of Rwanda Premier League. So we cater for them everything. They go to school, they come together, they live together. Everything is catered by the APR management. But for those young ones, they do trainings in holidays, weekends, then they go back home. But we have that vision to bring them together, all of them.
Okay. As we conclude this interview, Mr. Chairman, I will have to ask you about my country, Uganda. Rwanda and Uganda have a lot of history together.
Yes.
But even more in the world of sport.
Yes.
APR has signed quite a number of Ugandan players over the years. Maybe let's start with, according to your observation, what's your take on Ugandan players?
Yes, we do appreciate that Ugandans have a very skilled players. So when they came, they added values, because there is now a competition between our players. Because since they came, they created their competitive. We can see it in the training sessions, but again they have brought more skills to our team, and they have done a lot since they came. I think they have played more than 7 games, but once you see where we are now, they have raised our standard. And we all, because Uganda is our neighbor, and we know that Ugandans are very good in football. So recruiting them, bring them to our APL, it makes sense, and we see the impact also. So we do appreciate what Ugandans are doing in football. We still have more Ugandans to come who are going to be here in very few weeks, very few months to come.
Yes.
But I cannot reveal that.
Okay.
But we have good players, 2 or 3 who will be in it.
More Ugandans are coming to
Yes,
APR.
More Ugandans are coming, sure.
My goodness.
Yes,
Only
yes.
on pitch side is when you hear the breaking news.
Sure.
For sure, APR is going to have at least 2 or 3 more Ugandan players in the next 3 months.
4 months.
In the next 4 months.
Yes.
You've had it here. Okay. Is there any plan for? I know this is strictly about Rwanda and Rwandan sport, but what are the plans to grow APR in other countries? Maybe having an APR team maybe in Uganda or in Burundi. What's the idea? Is it even a possibility of happening?
No, I think what we can do is just the partnership with some of the clubs in Uganda, in other areas, partnership in the academies. That one we have planned because you cannot build football alone. So we have to have those collaboration in partnering in academies and the other things in football, even in other sports disciplines.
Okay. The derby. I need to ask you about the derby. So many people talk about APR versus Rwanda's biggest game and how it divides the country. When you see APR take on Rayon Sport, what comes to your mind? Just maybe tell a Ugandan there how big a game this is in Rwandan football.
Yeah, maybe for those who doesn't know, IPL and Rayon Sport, it's a rivalry. They are rivals. Since APR has been dominating in the Rwanda Premier League, but again, the second team behind IPR is Rayon Sport, and Rayon Sport is always competing to be on top. So this is what brings the rivalry really. So every game which meets the two teams, it's always a derby. Rayon Sport is in their minds, they think that they have to take this Rwanda Premier League Cup, but also IPL, since we are the dominant, we want to take this cup again, this cup of the Rwanda Premier League.
But to the fans, how are you able to connect with your fans as APR Football Club, and how have you been able to keep them growing as a football club, that when such big games come, they come in large numbers and they love the football club? What are some of those incentives APR has done to keep the fans?
We have fans who are organized in fan clubs, so all over the country, up countries. So whenever we have this derby, most of the time derby it is being played in the capital city here in Kigali. So what they do, they organize themselves to see how they can come from all along from the district far away from Kigali. But for us, we count on them because of the fans. So they do on their own. We don't do much to them. What we do is to recruit the players, is to show them the good game. But for the other arrangements of how they come, how they grow, most of the time they are the ones. But of course, sometimes we do cooperate with them in outreach activities where we meet and gather together. But for the arrangement of how they come, how they grow, it is all being made by the fan clubs where they live.
Okay, yeah. One of the challenges clubs experience in football, especially in our region, is finances. Now I know you have the support of the government, but how are you planning on making APR self-sustainable to be able to tomorrow, if maybe they don't have the support from X or Y, they can still survive?
Well, of course, we do have sponsorship from the Ministry of Defense, where they pay all whatever is being paid in IPL. But the leadership now, since we are working on business, we have been allowed to be now part of the business in the football. We have been we are now trying to see how we can start looking for sponsors for us to grow in financially, because as you have been saying, we need to have our own budget where we can recruit a player. You know, the players are now very expensive, so you are correct to ask me that question. But now we are working on that. That concept is being worked on. We are now waiting to discuss with our leadership to see how can we now, the APR, go into business where we can sustain on our own. So we haven't yet gone very far away, but the concept is there. The leadership is working on it. Maybe when you come, in the future, when you come back, we will know exactly where we are now. But as of now, we are working on concepts, and the leadership are looking into that. So we are waiting to see what level are we going to start on. But right now we are depending on
you're working on it. Finally, that derby, on average, as chairman, when the game is done, how much revenue do you collect? Would you like paint a picture? The funds, do they come in numbers? Do you sell jerseys? What is the impact of the 1000 Hills derby on both clubs when they meet?
Yeah, it's not a secret. When you see our stadium, the Amahoro Stadium, it accommodates how
45,000 fans.
Let's have average of 3,000. But it's quite a good money because we know people will be coming, will be full on the stadium. But again, we have some sponsors where we expect another lot of money there. Sure.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much
for joining me on Pitchside and having this candid discussion. I know clubs out there that want to also reach APR's level. They can, watch this interview and get to understand how things operate. Otherwise, I wish you all the success going forward in everything that you want to achieve. And thank you very much for having Ugandans on the team. Please have more Ugandans. If we can have 8-9 Ugandans, that would be very interesting.
Sure. Thank you very much for taking time for you to visit our headquarters here.
Yes. And
we look forward to work with you always when you come here, and even we may meet you there.
Anyways, a very, very big thank you to the club chairman of APR FC, who has taken a second to break down for us and explain the vision of the club, the magnitude of the 1000 Hills derby between APR and Rayon Sport, but also the effect Ugandan players have had on the club, APR. So like we keep saying, always keep it pitchside, where we shall be giving you more of this exclusive information. And see you on the other side. Like, subscribe, comment, and share. Cheers.